experts will plot to drop the IQ, fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, a holly suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Welcome back to Rogue Ways, where tonight we get to talk about the lunar eclipse that is happening tomorrow, the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. I don't know if true sidereal and traditional astrology always meet up on the full moons. I don't think so, because I think the first time someone like corrected my astrology when I was talking about a full moon, I think that's what it was. So I guess it can change, but at least for now, forgive my ignorance, but they both agree there's a full moon in Pisces. And if I'm getting that wrong, we'll find out, because we'll talk all about it tonight. So we'll do that. Also, this is my first live stream for nearly 2.5 weeks, I think. If you're not including day 0 yesterday, it's been a little while, so I'm glad to be back live with y'all. Hopefully some people will be here to catch in on this live stream. And if not, as always, we're on every single podcast app in existence and many other video streaming places, as well as video hosting sites like BitChute after the fact. So lots of ways to get Rogue Ways and Middle Path. And otherwise, we can jump into it. I would tell you about my trip, but you can watch it all, because every time I do a trip, I do a Rogue Ways road trip in which I collect all of the things in which I was participating over the course of the vacation and put it into a nice little video montage for you. I actually, in doing so, we traveled, we went east, we went over to Illinois, we went up to Chicago area, we saw some friends in Wisconsin, we went then across the big Lake Michigan over to Michigan, we went up and hung out on the upper coast of the mainland of Michigan, did Mackinac Island and that whole thing, camped for a few days, super relaxing. And then we got to go up to the upper peninsula of Michigan, which is just insanely gorgeous, beautiful land. I had no idea how amazing Michigan is rad. I love Michigan. I don't know anything about like that bottom part that's down towards, the rest of the continental United States, the south of Michigan. I have no idea. We completely skipped that. That might be a horror fest. I'm not sure, but the rest of Michigan is fantastic. So that was really cool. And then we made our way back. We went through Bismarck, my birthplace. And so I haven't been back there since I was about 1 year old. So I really had never, in fact, experienced it really, right? I wasn't very conscious back then in the first year of life. So that was really cool to go back. We actually found my birth house. And so that was interesting. And then we made our way back through South Dakota, which I love. I love the Black Hills of Dakota. I always have to sing Rocky Raccoon, as you might understand. And so that's always fun. And then back home. So a little 2-week camping trip / road trip all through those areas. And it's funny. I'm sure I'll still get some of the people who are like, oh, it must be nice. It must be nice to take a 2-week vacation. Yeah, it is. It is nice to camp for 2 weeks. It is nice to be nearly 43 years old and be able to camp for 2 weeks. Yeah, it's nice. I just people have to try to criticize me for taking vacation every time. It never fails. Watch, it'll happen. It's amazing. I'm like, are you that miserable that you begrudge someone a camping trip? I mean, and ideally someday I'll be 2 weeks in Paris or something. I'm actually not that flattered with Paris. Where Angkor Wat, right? An actually expensive vacation. And then I still won't deserve the begrudging, the nasty, the miserable. Well, God, man, I hope you also get your shit together and can camp someday. Good God. So that's always fun. Also, you can see Falcor, the great big van, somewhere in those videos, I'm sure, the one I just uploaded to Rockfin and to my tiny little YouTube channel, which I'm really only doing so that people who might happen to search on YouTube can at least find me in some way and then hopefully be redirected to the places I actually am. But worth a sub. If you're on YouTube, go sub there. So I uploaded this road trip video to there. You can see Falcor. Falcor is the old 1998 van that I bought in 2019 for about $4,000. And then I have a fantastic mechanic who did like $10,000 of work for $1,000 because he's one of the best humans in the world. So brought it up to speed, got me some new suspension and different things. And then my friend Steve from AM Wake Up, Steve Foykanon, built out the back for about $500 because he's an awesome dude. So now I have this van that I can sleep in. Otherwise, nothing like a camper van. No bathroom, no sink, just a big bed in a van. Hauls all my gear and my tent and everything. And so Johnny and I get to sleep in the van or put up the tent, whatever we prefer at the time, but super cheap. So people are also like, oh, it must be nice to have a van. Yeah, I worked my ass off for 40 fucking years and I got a cheap ass van and threw a bed in it. Like literally, are you this miserable? You got to do something about that. It's not going to help you out in life. But what I was trying to say too, as uploading this video, I was remembering like, when my old YouTube got deleted for the second time, my many thousands of subscribers that were already suppressed and should have been larger than that. No bitterness here. That took with it all of the historical road trip videos from 2019 and on. So I have re-uploaded all of those to the YouTube channel. I'm not doing it on Rockfin, but if you want to go to the YouTube channel, I think you just search for Lindsay Sharman now because they wouldn't let me do Rogue Ways because that was the old channel's name or whatever. So search for Lindsay Sharman, find the Lindsay Sharman channel. And if you would like, you can see all of those road trips all through the continental United States and Canada over the past, 6 years now. So pretty cool, fun stuff. If you like travel and you like vans and you like camping, you might like those. So anyway, that's all there. So I won't go into the trip more than that. Otherwise, you can go check that out if you like to here on Rockfin, here on Rumble, or on YouTube. And otherwise, we're just going to get into this eclipse, full moon eclipse stuff. So here we are. And first, I'd like to, of course, remind you, rogueways.org is the place to go for all of my books, to schedule one-on-one sessions with me, to read the testimony of those who have, to look into doing a deeper ceremony with me, to check out the things in the shop, like all of the orgone and more here on the site. You can also check out the Dream Walking class. The next class is coming up in just a few weeks, actually. So if you are going to come join the Dream Walking class for this October, then you'll want to click here and check it out. You can also always contact me here through the Connect tab, ask any questions about any of those things, and I'm happy to figure things out with you. This is all here on rogueways.org. On rogueways.substack.com, you can get all of my writing, channeled and otherwise. These were the last few posts that have come out over the few weeks while I was gone. I had those set up to go out to you guys. So the center of all things and more truth from the center. Good pair of readings for you. There's always some free posts here, like I would do anything and more for those free subscribers on rogueways.substack.com. And some of those channeled messages are for the paid subscribers. So hopefully you support what I do. You support what my purpose, my mission, and the content that I create. And you can come here to rogueways.substack.com and become a paid subscriber. And if you do not feel flush enough to do so, at least become a free subscriber at rogueways.substack.com. Thank you to all of you who support in that way. And one more thing before we get into the lunar eclipse is One Day of Brightness is this Sunday. It is now 6 days away, this September 22nd. It is a virtual retreat. You can come here to the schedule a session link on the rogueways.org, or you can just go to calendly.com/rogueways to see all of the services. And here, upcoming Sunday, 22nd, you'll just click 10 a.m. and you can come join us. I have 6 hours down here. I have 10 a.m. Mountain to 3 p.m. Mountain. It actually usually goes from like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Mountain, but I just always put that little cushion there. So if we go over a little, people are kind of expecting it. There are breaks built into this. We have a lunch break. The sessions are recorded. So if you do have to step out or you miss part of it, you can come back to it on the recording. People's lives shift during these equinoctial and no, I just said that, and solstice events that we do every equinox and solstice. So this autumnal equinox will be no different. Blessings come through, messages come through, healing transforms people's lives. It is always so deep and so beautiful and so much fun. And I am so honored to do this with everyone who comes. Obviously, there's people already signed up. As soon as it finishes, people often sign up for the next one day because they already know they're in, because it's a steal. You cannot get myself nor Catherine for this price for any of the services we offer, but you get us both for this $60 here for the full day. So I hope to see you all there this Sunday. As always, it'll be amazing. And so go check that out, rogueways.org, on the schedule a session and then One Day of Brightness, or you can go to calendly.com/rogueways and click on One Day of Brightness. Hope to see you there for this beautiful, powerful autumnal equinox coming up on Sunday. And now we'll look at the full moon eclipse. Tomorrow's eclipse is not a full eclipse. It is a full moon, but it is just a partial eclipse. So I just have some pictures here of some partial eclipses. I'm sure you already know what a partial eclipse looks like. But that's what's going on tomorrow. You know, according to the standard model of the globe Earth and the globular celestial bodies, this is what's happening. Whatever's happening, it will be a partial lunar eclipse, and it will happen tomorrow. And so this is just carrying out the eclipse seasons. And I mean, I don't know why it just doesn't stick in my brain. Every time Athen Comenti comes on, I feel like, and maybe even Phoenix Aurelius when he's been on it, I ask like, okay, wait, so like what makes the eclipse seasons? Or like, why are there seasons of eclipses? And every time I just like, it just doesn't stick. So I don't know, but this is right here at the end of the eclipse season. It started this last spring. We had something, then we had the full solar eclipse again this last spring. And now here we are in this partial lunar eclipse. And then there's going to be, I think, a full lunar eclipse in the rest of this year, and then even another eclipse. So, you know, I guess we're right here towards the end/middle of eclipse season for this year. Meaning what? I don't know. Maybe we can look that up. Actually, let's just see. Let's just see if there's an easy answer. What the fuck is an eclipse season? The fuck was necessary, otherwise the search doesn't work. I don't know if you knew that, but it's not actually. Eclipse seasons. What? Between the years 1600 and 2599, there are 2108 eclipse seasons. Okay, that's weird. Maybe we'll look more at this, but here's one that seems to address like what an actual season is. Eclipse seasons, what are they? Why are some special? Solar and lunar eclipses can only occur during a short period of time known as an eclipse season. No two eclipse seasons are the same, and some are particularly noteworthy. Weird. The basic requirement for a solar eclipse is a new moon, and a lunar eclipse requires a full moon. And okay. They come in seasons. About every 6 months, Earth comes to a sweet spot in its orbit where a perfect or almost perfect three-way alignment of the Earth, Moon, and Sun can occur. Each sweet spot lasts for about 34.5 days in eclipse season. Okay. So twice a year we get these. If there's a new moon in the eclipse season, it'll form a straight line with Earth and the Sun, and a total solar eclipse will happen. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So eclipses come in seasons. Good to know. And this is annoying. And here we go. Oh, see, they said what the hell is an eclipse season, so we're on the same vibe here. And it's just saying the same thing. It has the ability to create significant shifts and changes in our lives. You know, and this is one of the things people are all over the place on. Astrology in general, whether it affects us or doesn't. There is definitely always the newspaper astrology, so, you know, where it's like, it's so vague that it could apply to anyone at any time in their life. They're like, today you'll be challenged by something, but you're gonna go right through it. And you're like, okay, I mean, yeah, very much so. But there's much more nuanced and descriptive astrology, especially when you get into like the level of charts and where the planets are in different houses and all these things. And that's way too specific. And they don't describe everyone. And I have noticed, and you probably have too if you're here, it does seem to describe people pretty accurately. And what's even crazier is you've probably heard me if you've been on Rogueways long enough, heard me describe that the first half of my life was really, really well described by my natal chart in tropical astrology, which is what most people are used to hearing. If you've talked about astrology in your life, you're probably talking about tropical astrology. And then I learned of true sidereal astrology only, I don't know, in the past 5 years or so, when meeting Phoenix Aurelius and Athen Comenti. And Athen Comenti is a true sidereal astrologist. He's not a sidereal astrologist. That's yet another type of astrology. He's a true sidereal astrologist, which a lot of people don't differentiate, and then they get into all sorts of confusion around it. So his way of doing astrology has to do with exactly where things are at in the sky at the moment from your point of view. And I had my chart cast by Athen and got a report by him. And that seemed to more accurately describe this, let's just call it the second half of my life, much more adeptly than my tropical chart was capable of describing anymore. So I mentioned that to him and he said, yeah, it's very likely that, the tropical is sort of like the initial part of your life. And then the true sidereal is the second half. And it could just be that that's for me, but it could be that other people, their true sidereal chart describes them better than their tropical ever could. And it could be, I don't know, I haven't met anyone yet, but it's possible that someone's true sidereal chart doesn't seem to fit them at all. But for me, it seems to be more accurate. It seems to be more accurate for people who have like really deeply, I think, found themselves and hit their stride sort of, which does usually happen later or in the second half of life for most people. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with all of that. Oh, just this idea of whether or not eclipses affect us, whether or not astrology affects us. In my experience, not just my opinion, but in my experience, it really does. It really does, whether we know it or not, right? And then once we know it and we know the understanding, the interpretation of where things are and what, it's like kind of too weird not to be affecting us. But I also have this problem with the lack of free will, this idea that we're in this mechanistic sort of clock and it's just spitting out people because of where they're at and the alignments and all of this stuff. And that, once the moon's here, like this is going to happen to you no matter what you do. And I brought that up to Athen and he had the best answer I've ever heard as well. And it makes much more sense to me than anything else. And it also fits my experience, which is to say that this is like the weather. The moon is going to have an eclipse tomorrow, Tuesday night, September 17th, 2024 at about 10 p.m. Eastern US time. And that's the weather. Like the weather will be full moon eclipse in Pisces. And so there's different energies that are likely and that are heavier and that are going to maybe weigh on you or push you in certain directions, but you have every ability to do anything you want with it. And it doesn't control you and you do have free will, right? He said it's like if it's raining, you can go outside and still have a blast, or you can stay in because you don't want to go out into the rain. You still get to choose, you're just not choosing the weather. So that's how I like to think about astrology in general, and this full moon is no different. And it's really interesting also to then look at like the larger societal, political, and worldly shifts that happen. And that's why I love talking with Athen Comenti at the beginning of the year. So you can go back and see our 2024 conversation. Somewhere in January, we did that with Athen Comenti on Rogueways. And every January, we do that with him. And also, let's just go back to rogueways.org really quick, because if you're interested in any of this and you haven't yet, you can go to the favorite things tab here on Rogueways. And you'll notice, aside from the AquaCure, the Organic Hemp Society, that here's the True Sidereal Astrology with Athen Comenti. And this link specifically is going to support the show. So again, if you like what you find here, you like what I do, and you're interested in True Sidereal Astrology, please use the link from my site and come here and get your chart report and reading. Mine, like I said, was really fantastic, and it really helped me understand where I'm at now, where I've come to in my life. And it's a really great deal as well. So come check it out. The other thing that's cool, whether you end up getting your chart and your reading or not, you can also just get your chart on your own and do your own calculations. Of course, that's going to be much more in depth on your part of, but if you're already an astrologer, then that might be easy for you. But I suggest you get the report. He's pretty great. And that's all here. And he also has plenty of articles and different things. And we're actually going to read one in a second here. But that's there on rogueways.org under the favorite things tab. All of these are ways to support the show by using these links here. And all of them are things I use myself and things that I love. So let's get to this eclipse tomorrow. By the way, what's up to those of you in the chat saying hello, Alex, Logan, people who are perhaps over there on Rumble as well. Hello to you. So lunar eclipses 2024. This is from space.com. It says when, where, and how to see them. The next one, of course, is tomorrow. Partial lunar eclipse, September 17th through 18th. It'll be visible over Europe, Asia, Africa, North America, South America, the Pacific, etc. I think like right here, like I said, it's going to be about 10. Oh, that's on March 25th. Why isn't it saying the time here? I think it's about 10:40 Eastern. Oh, here we go. 8:41 Eastern. Oh, and 10:44 is the end. Okay, so where I'm at, it's going to be barely getting dark at the start of it. And by the end of it, it will have just sort of gotten like pretty dark. So I might be able to see like a touch of it if there's no clouds. It is just partial. It'll just get kind of like orangey and have like a little slice taken out of it, perhaps. You can, of course, get your telescope, look up there, take some cool pictures with your telescope. I can't wait till I have enough space to have a telescope that I can take pictures with. It'll be super awesome. And I don't think there was anything else on this page I cared about. So that's just the details on when and where it's going to be happening. If you're in the US and it's dark enough where you're at, you'll be able to see it better. So I guess east, if you're further east, the better. And so here's a little bit deeper look. This is from NASA. Of course, NASA, always trustworthy. What does NASA stand for? Never a straight answer. So they say the next full moon is a partial lunar eclipse, a supermoon, the corn moon, and the harvest moon. It's true. And, we get these names for the moons based on the season. It's just a way of keeping time, right? So if you were a lunar calendar sort of society, which most were, it's the natural world cycle, right? Then you would, you'd know by moons. You'd be like, oh, this is the third full moon since the winter solstice. And so this is the time to start planting or something, right? I don't know. I'm probably not getting it right. But so then that moon might be called something about that, like planting or growth or the seed moon or whatever. And so corn moon, harvest moon, same difference, right? Here in this moon at this time of year, we're going to be harvesting things. I'm harvesting things. All my squash is gigantic. My butternut's about to be perfectly perfected and brought in. My tomatoes are just insane still. We're still getting just pounds of tomatoes every day. It's crazy. So lots of abundance, lots of harvest because it's the harvest time, harvest moon. Neil Young didn't just make it up. It's a thing. And it's a supermoon, which I don't know about you, but I feel like supermoons didn't even exist until like 2000 or something. Maybe that's just when I was old enough to notice it or hear about it, or I don't know. But it was like this big deal. Like there's a super moon coming and people were like, oh God, the tides are going to go insane. And now they're like every other full moon. So, it's super moon if it's closer to the earth. If it's like within a certain distance, it's a super moon. It does look physically bigger because it is actually closer. And so tomorrow's is a supermoon. It is the corn moon. It's the harvest moon. And it's a partial lunar eclipse. It's a full moon. I guess it's also called the fruit or barley moon. Again, makes sense. It's just like, what part of the world? Are you a barley place? Are you a fruit place? Are you a corn place? Like, this is what determines what you call this moon. I don't know what these are. The end of Ganesh. I know Ganesh. Chaturthi and the start of Pitru Paksha. Let's see what these mean. I'm sure it's just a way of keeping time in Hindu areas, but festival celebrates Ganesh as the god of new beginnings, the remover of obstacles, as well as the god of wisdom and intelligence. Dude, he's so cool. I don't know him on like a worldly level, but I know him on a soul level. He's pretty awesome. 10-day festival marking the birth of the elephant-headed deity Ganesh. It begins on the 4th day of the month of Bhadrapada, August to September. I wonder if Hindu is a lunar religion. So that's also happening right now. It's also the mid-autumn moon cake. What is moon cake? So many things to celebrate. It's also just always fascinating to me in this syncretic sort of way to see like all of these things all are occurring at the same time. It's a Chinese bakery product. Yeah, but what is it? Oh, it's associated with the Mid-Autumn Festival. So the Mid-Autumn Festival is Chinese, and mooncake is just a cake they eat. Why is that even listed here? Our Union Festival moon, and potato harvest and more. So that's tomorrow. They are saying here on NASA's page that it's at 10:35 Eastern, but remember, that's the end of it, so I guess they're trying to screw you. They don't want you to see it. What are they hiding? So in some areas, it'll cross over into midnight, so that's why they're saying it's September 17th to 18th. But for us, for all intents and purposes, those of us listening here in the US, it's the 17th. Okay, so here's the supermoon. Supermoon was coined by astrologer Richard Nolly in 1979 as either a new or full moon that occurs when the moon is within 90% of its closest to Earth. So 90 to 100% of the closest it gets, and a full moon makes it a supermoon. That's cool. And that's cool. That's it. Oh, pay attention to the news about this comet. C2023A3. There's a number of ifs, so we don't like to raise expectations. Similar visitors from the Oort cloud have broken apart and fizzled out as they pass close to the sun. If this comet survives its passage by the sun, which its closest approaches September 27th, 2024, so about 10 days out or so, and if the amount of gas and dust it gives off does not decrease significantly, this might be one of the best comets in a long time. If it strongly scatters sunlight towards the Earth, it might even be visible in the glow of dusk just after its closest approach to Earth on October 12th. I think I have this in my calendar. I think I've been waiting for this all year. And this might be the comet we talked about as possibly being the like blue star Kachina. But who knows? Because every time there's anything in the sky, everyone thinks it's the blue star Kachina. So you can go back and revisit that episode if you'd like. I think we did that. I don't even know. Last year, who knows? Who cares? Time is weird. Sometime recently. So that'll be cool, though. We might see this comet. I don't know why that's here on like the full moon, supermoon eclipse page, but oh well, we'll take it. We'll take the reminder. Thanks, NASA. But let's read a little bit more deeply. And this is, again, from Athen Commenti of masteringthezodiac.com. And so he's doing the true sidereal astrology, which is different from the tropical astrology and is based on exactly what you can see from where you stand on Earth and what's going on in the sky. It is not the same as sidereal astrology. It is true sidereal astrology. So this is his newsletter. So I was signed up for his emails. I like to just get the weekly rundown of some of the astrology that's going on because it's not something I otherwise pay attention to on my own, and also some of his interpretations of the meanings of things like these eclipses and full moons and whatnot. And now he's doing it as a newsletter as well, so you can get the PDF of it, which I think is really cool. So this is today's newsletter. And it says lunar eclipse in Pisces, Tuesday, September 17th, 2024. He says, we experience a powerful lunar eclipse in Pisces, a moment that marks a deep connection to the intuitive and unseen realms. This eclipse, conjunct Neptune, brings an overwhelming sense of dissolving boundaries, blurring the lines between what we perceive and what lies beneath. It's as though we are drawn into a deeper, more profound understanding of the interconnectedness of all things, but also a place where dreams and reality can merge, leaving us to sift through what truly matters. I love this. I have to say I'm kind of least familiar with Pisces. I've had the least amount of Pisces around me in life, especially because if I've had any, they don't stick around long because I think I'm too abrasive for them. They're very emotional from what I hear. So they don't tend to like me for very long. And so I'm just less familiar with it. So it's good for me to hear things like this and try to understand like what a full moon in Pisces would be like. And it sounds like it's just describing the moon to me. So the moon in Pisces sound really similar to me, the non-astrologer, right? The moon is this watery, dreamy, deeper, more profound, interconnected, right brain, I would say, right creative. And Pisces sounds really similar. So a full moon in Pisces feels like double, triple moon whammy, right? So that's happening. And then Neptune as well is this very kind of, I like that, how he described it, this sense of dissolving boundaries. Neptune is not usually described as expansive, but to me, that's what it feels like. And I think that's sort of the same idea of like dissolving these boundaries, right? That feels expansive to me. So that's the conjunct Neptune aspect. Neptune is sort of out there. It's different. It's beyond what we would expect, right? It's like challenging traditional ways of seeing things. So this all sounds good. This is this full moon tomorrow. He says Pisces energy invites us to surrender and to let go of control and to trust in the flow of life. Hey, if you know me and you've heard any of my spiritual experiences, almost all of them are about this. So this could be massive for us if we want to invite this energy in and surrender and let go a little bit more. And if you are someone who, like me, tries to do a little connecting with the full moons and the new moons and the different things going on and do a little communication with it, do a little intention setting, a little manifestation, that might be where you go with this, right? To surrender, to let go of control, and to trust in the flow of life. He says this lunar eclipse asks us to step back and reflect on where we've been holding on too tightly. What illusions have we been feeding? And where can we embrace faith over fear? I think this is really important too. Which illusions have we been feeding? This is what's really hard to know. And again, lay person here, not an astrologer. Neptune feels to me like the one to do that because it's hard to know your own illusions. That's kind of the point of them being illusions. It's like you think they're true and they're not. But when Neptune sort of dissolves what you thought you knew and brings it beyond what you thought you could know, there go some of your illusions, right? And I know the moon and maybe Pisces are really good at illusions, as in it's easy to have illusions with moon or Piscean energy, right? It's easy to get lost in the emotional and the irrational rather than what's actually real and rooted and grounded. So the good energy of the moon and the full moon would say, yeah, go crazy with the creativity, like get wild with it, imagine everything, but then remember what's actually real. And then in this case, we're also being asked to then just let go of control of any of it, right? So like, okay, I'm going to dream huge. I'm going to realize that here's reality, and I'm going to let go of pretending like I can control either of them, perhaps. Faith over fear. Faith over fear. As I'm always saying, no matter what ever happens, you'll still be there. You'll still be here. You'll still be immersed in the eternity of loving presence. And that's it. So like, yeah, let go of that fear. He goes on to say the presence of Neptune amplifies this call, urging us to tap into our inner wisdom, our compassion, and our ability to transcend the material world for something greater. It's a time to listen to our hearts, to sit with our emotions, and to trust that the path forward is being guided by forces beyond our immediate awareness. Oh, see, he and I agree right there. It really is. You're always being guided by something more wise than you think you could be, but really it's your higher self. You are that wise. He says, but this eclipse doesn't leave us floating aimlessly. With supportive trines to Uranus and Pluto, there's an undercurrent of transformation and innovation. Wow, so we have Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto all connected here. And here's the parts where I'm guessing tropical astrology has a different view on the trines and the whatnots. In fact, I think later we'll read some of those, the traditional astrology's take on this. And here is the divergence with the true sidereal, where Uranus and Pluto and Neptune actually are in the sky, as opposed to where traditional astrology puts them. So here we have supportive Uranus and Pluto. That's a lot, though. Those are all our outermost planets, right? Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. So they're all kind of like groundbreaking, boundary breaking, moving beyond, moving above, transcending, right? So that's interesting. He says there's an undercurrent of transformation and innovation, urging us to break free from old patterns that no longer serve us. Yeah, let's do that collectively, guys. Let's make it happen. It's like all we're really about here. He says this alignment creates a powerful configuration in the sky, offering both the stability and the inspiration needed to make meaningful changes in our lives. Uranus brings the spark of insight, the boldness to try something new, while Pluto provides the depth and intensity to fully commit to the process of change. This is so interesting for me. The most recent sort of profound medicine journey and experience I had, Toad on the Mountain, if you want to go listen to those episodes, but they're really all about this. And what stands out to me about that is that it's actually easier than you might think to have these pretty huge shifts take place within you. And this full moon eclipse energy, to me, it sounds exactly like that, where you can go into some pretty deep, pretty big blockages and wounds and traumas within you and almost just like float right through them. That boundary dissolving can just kind of open them up, and you just sort of release, and all of this support moves through. And it just shifts. But you still have this intention of where you're going from that, right? And it's just the intention that shifts you. That's all. There's no force. There's no trying really hard. There's no fighting. It's about a surrendering and just keeping the very simple intention present. Very simple. Which might be as simple as like your intention is just love. It's allowed to be that simple. You might have a little bit more complex, and that's cool too. But just keeping it while just sort of dissolving the rest. And, to people who maybe aren't as sort of initiated or present, they might be like, what the fuck is she talking about? But you might feel me and understand that immensity of things that are ancient and heavy and feel immovable can just transcend, like in a moment, just be dissolved. And then you're just in the new intention and moving that direction. And it's just easier than you think. So that's what this feels like to me as well. So yeah, perfectly described here. And it really feels to me like exactly what is happening right now. So I love that. See, like I said, that's another thing about true sidereal for me is whenever I'm listening to like the tropical side of things, I'm like, okay, like it's like part of me is like trying to make it work. But on the true sidereal side of things, I'm always like, that's where I'm actually at. Like that's what's actually happening. And as Athens says too, they're both valuable. They both have value. So no one needs to fight about like which is superior. Finally, he says this is a potent time to release emotional baggage, outdated beliefs, and limiting patterns. I just see, like that's what I'm just saying. It's like we're just on the same page here. It's a moment to clear the way for new opportunities and fresh insights. If you've been feeling stuck, this lunar eclipse may offer the breakthrough you've been seeking, but only if you're willing to surrender and trust the process. Take time this week to meditate, journal, or simply sit with yourself in quiet reflection. The clarity will come, and when it does, you'll be ready to move forward with a renewed energy and purpose. I agree. I love it. I love it. So he also has a couple other notes here. The next day on Wednesday, September 18th, we have Mercury opposing Saturn. So Mercury opposite Saturn this week brings a moment to slow down and focus on important matters. This alignment challenges us to balance clear communication with careful consideration. You may encounter obstacles or delays in conversations, contracts, or decisions. Rather than rushing forward, this is a time to reflect, gather facts, and ensure everything is in order before proceeding. It's a powerful week to revise plans and address long-standing issues. Patience and persistence are key as Saturn demands discipline and responsibility, while Mercury highlights the need for thoughtful, precise action in moving forward. Then on the 22nd, which is one day of brightness, which is the autumnal equinox, so big day there, we have Venus squaring Pluto. And Athen Comenti says, Venus square Pluto on Sunday stirs intense emotions and deeper insight into relationships and values. Power dynamics, control, or hidden feelings may rise to the surface, urging you to confront what's been buried. This energy can bring transformation, but it often comes through facing uncomfortable truths. Hey, this is exactly what One Day of Brightness is there to help people do, to more easily move through some of these bigger blockages and wounds in life. So, super awesome day to be doing this type of work. Whether in partnerships, financial matters, or self-worth, it's important to navigate this aspect with honesty and an open heart. Avoid manipulation or forcing outcomes, as Pluto's influence thrives on change through release. Venus invites you to redefine what truly matters, making way for more authentic and empowering connections moving forward. Oh, don't we all need that? It's like I shouldn't say my whole, one of my main goals in life is to make every relationship I have truly authentic and empowering, or else not have it in my life. So much easier than having not that in your life, my opinion. So worth it. So that's Athen Comenti's take on this full moon and some more little blips this week in astrology and true sidereal astrology. And so we'll go back now to some of the more traditional astrology. This is from today.com, their astrology. And it's funny because even though it's today and even though we could mock the mainstream and all of this, they probably do hire like really, really good astrologers to do these things. And so I'm happy that this astrologer gets to write these things. So the supermoon lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th for your zodiac sign. I don't think that's the part I cared about. I think there was something else she mentions here that I liked. Lunar eclipses between the moon and the sun. The Earth is between the moon and the sun. And nope. Okay, so here's her take. This is the part I liked. This is her take on what you should be doing during the lunar eclipse on September 17th. She says, during this eclipse, we'll want to commit to something that fulfills our higher purpose. Since the planets Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all uniting with the eclipse point, we'll feel compelled to ignite a personal revolution. We will realize that we can change, out with the old and in with the new. So it's interesting. It's a little bit different. But it's pretty similar to the true sidereal. She says we'll be weighing what relationships and dreams we want to connect with for the future. Prepare to feel every emotion in a soulful and abundant way. Be open to the sentiments which are revealed and exposed. Don't turn away from the truth. Embrace it with welcoming arms. It's pretty similar to the true sidereal. I won't go into everyone's sign and what they should do, but if you want to check it out here on today.com, go for it. So we'll move on then to this other traditional astrology here. This is cafe astrology. And they have the whole chart for tomorrow's full moon here. Now, this means things to people, not really to me. I do notice there's like a ton of stuff going on over here in Taurus and oh God, what is that? Well, that's not even Taurus, it's Aries and Pisces. So yeah, that's all over here. Oh, there's Saturn. No, is that Jupiter? God, see, I'm not an astrologer. Sometimes people just think I am because I do tarot, which is really adorable. So a full moon occurs now, it says, for tomorrow's full moon, as the sun in Virgo forms an opposition to the moon in Pisces. See how many different things are going on and how each astrologer is like pulling out slightly different things. That's interesting to me too. So the sun in Virgo, because we're in Virgo territory, like anyone born right now would be a Virgo according to traditional astrology. Could be different. You could have a totally different sign in true sidereal. So the sun in Virgo forms an opposition to the moon in Pisces. The full moon is a time of culmination and the promise of fulfillment of that which was started at the new moon. It's an emotional time, a time of romance, fertilization, and relationships. That's like every full moon is what they're saying. Or maybe not. Maybe they're saying that that's just this full moon in Pisces. It's unclear based on how this is written. 25 degrees and 41 minutes of Pisces opposite the sun at the same degree of Virgo. That's exactly what an eclipse is. Okay. I was like, that's crazy. They're exactly opposite. You're like, no, that's like the whole point. So opposite the sun, its alignment with Neptune and square to Jupiter speak to the extravagant nature of this time. But you see what I mean? No one else brought up Jupiter until this article. Neptune's been mentioned in every single one, but Jupiter coming up for the first time today, square to Jupiter. So it's an extravagant time. Its harmony with Uranus suggests we're ready to embrace change and progress. That seems to be a theme for sure. There can be inflated feelings, so it's wise to sit with them for a bit before taking action. This is really important for so many of us, right? If big emotions are coming up, just pause. Pause, go somewhere else, do something else, forget about it as much as possible, and then address it. This is the first eclipse of an eclipse set occurring along the Virgo-Pisces axes. The next eclipse is in Libra, then a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025, a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September 2025, a solar eclipse in Virgo in September 2025, and a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2026, lunar eclipse in Pisces August 2026, and a lunar eclipse in Virgo in February 2027. So wow, lots of Virgo Pisces action for the next few years with eclipses. It's pretty weird. Is that normal? So this is the first in a sign set. It's saying this full moon eclipse tomorrow is the first in that Virgo Pisces series of multi-year eclipses. It's not an eclipse season. It's a sign set over many years, as they're describing it here in Cafe Astrology. So this is the first one of that set. So that's a pretty big deal. And it says this September eclipse can serve as the initial prompt, nudge, or push to make improvements in Virgo and Pisces ruled areas of life in our charts, and feelings of discontent can magnify. So that's interesting too to think about on a global scale. And this is something that Athen Commenti talks about in the last few, actually, of our beginning of the year yearly astrology check-ins, is that we're going into this process where a lot of things are set to sort of redefine themselves and restructure themselves globally. Technology, the economy are literally our political structures themselves. So whether that looks like violent revolutions or whether it looks like just transformations and evolutions, that's up to us, right? That's the weather, and we get to decide how we're going to interact with that weather. But this Virgo Pisces series of eclipses over the next few years sounds like it could have a lot to do with that. These feelings of discontent, it says, can magnify. Yeah. And if you think about the psychopaths, who are the biggest astrologers of all, this is the other thing. You can poo-poo astrology all you want, but when you notice that all of the richest and most powerful institutions and people use it, you have to wonder, what do they know? And they know this more than most. So what are they kinda planning for these next few years, right? And my point is always to notice what they might want to use this energy for, and then do what you want with it instead of that. So instead of them letting them, influence you to feel more discontent, or more angry or more, wanting to suddenly lash out and just violently change things, and do things intentionally, do them more thoughtfully, do them more slowly, do them with better technology, do them with larger groups of people of a similar mind working together to make our parallel systems. And then you will have used the weather well and not fallen into any traps. So I think it's a good idea. So he goes into, or she, or whoever goes into much greater detail about some things. And this is a good point. It says, note that whatever happens at this time, it's nothing truly new. The issues have been brewing inside of us and emotions have been building. Something comes to the light at the time of the lunar eclipse. And if we get in touch with our emotions, we can get a better idea of what needs to change or what needs to go. And this is also true. Whatever's been happening to us as humanity, as a race of beings, it's been doing this. We're just realizing it now. It's like a lot of people have realized that about this whole, supposed like great awakening or whatever you want to call it. It's not like anything actually changed. Just people just saw things finally of what they actually are. That's all. Nothing new. The lunar eclipse in Pisces, it says, is bound to thrust us into a state of heightened awareness. Take special note of your dreams. And I'm telling you, the dreams are on an uptake. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I think my dream group has noticed this, and you may have noticed, I've noticed it. The dreams are getting much longer and more in depth. So this could be something you want to take advantage of. You might want to come join the dream walking class this October. And that's there at rogueways.org. You check it out. You can always email me if you want to ask more about it. We can feel an enormous range of emotions coming up here. Health and service axis, it says, is the Pisces Virgo axis. And so the health or work issues may come to the fore. Interesting. So maybe set some intentions about staying healthy. Things could test our faith or magnify our fears and doubts, especially in these areas of health and service. Secrets may be revealed. For some, a new calling will surface in the coming 6 months. A new line of work that better matches our inner nature. Hell yeah, I hope that's true for all of us. What needs more rest or attention in our spiritual nature? Some more self-care. Clearing up past patterns that have been holding us back. So more of the same, more details in it. That's a good one. I like this. I like cafe astrology. I know it's sort of like, I don't know, people make fun of it. I don't know why. I think it's great. Especially you want to take a little glimpse of the traditional astrology. So here's an interesting take. This is someone from people.com. And their take is why you shouldn't manifest during September's partial lunar eclipse, which almost makes me be like doubling down on how much I want to manifest. If People magazine is telling me not to manifest, I'm like, oh, this is the time. And you think about, what we were talking about way at the beginning, right? The moon energy, the Piscean energy, very manifest, very much tapping into that exact energy that manifestation works on, which is your deepest creative energy, your deepest creative impulse, right? And so you tap into your imagination, you dream it up, and then you just release it into the sea of the ether of the consciousness of the universe and wait for it to come back to you. And here you have it. So wouldn't the Piscean full moon energy be the best for manifesting? But let's take a little glimpse on this. Of course, they have to go through everything we've already talked about. And here we get to, why shouldn't you manifest during an eclipse? This person says manifestation is a practice many use when wanting to bring goals, dreams, relationships, and beyond to fruition. Intention, work, prayer, vision boards, and crystals are often used when doing so. Though Thomas, whoever Thomas is, notes that there are specific periods that are better for us to tap this practice. He says new moons, for example, are excellent for manifesting because they can aid us in opening doors to new goals and plans. Same for full moons, which can add extra power and strength to our manifestations. Manifesting during an eclipse, meanwhile, will counter this advantageous effect, which is why tapping this practice isn't advised around these cosmic periods. This is because many fated events, beginnings and endings, are taking place during an eclipse season, and trying to control the eclipse energies may be redirecting destiny in a negative way, he explains. The vast majority of events that take place during eclipse season are meant to occur, even if we don't understand them or like them at the given time. I don't know, man. I'm gonna manifest. But I was worth mentioning that this is what they think. This person thinks. I will be quite honest. I think there are certain times that are probably better aligned with the content of what you are manifesting, but there's never a wrong time to manifest, right? In fact, I've said it before. I'll say it again until I'm dead. You are always manifesting, and you have been for your whole life. You couldn't turn it off if you tried. You are a creative being. You might be manifesting just bland repetition forever because that's what you expect, and that's even what you subconsciously love and want and need. But you're still manifesting, right? You might be manifesting disease, discord, right? Things you don't feel like you like. You're doing it for some reason and finding out why and sort of like switching that around can be the best thing you ever did, but you're manifesting it. So you've been manifesting all along. The best thing to do is to start manifesting intentionally, saying, okay, so if I want to be like this, my thoughts should be of that energy, my ideas and imaginings, my deepest impulses should be along those lines. I should expect that. I should know that it is not only possible, but going to happen. And I should just trust that it will. And all of those things will also just help you feel better and act better and be better, think better, right? Everything starts with your thoughts. So always you are manifesting, and so there's no time you shouldn't. And I'll just say, maybe it's just chance, but that sounds like a very psychopath class thing to say. It's like, there's fated events, and even if you don't like them, they should happen, like you eating crickets. You're like, I don't think that's true. So, I don't know. Take people's advice if you want. I'm not going to. Here's someone who's suggesting how you should work with it. This supermoon, this full moon tomorrow. And some of this we've already talked about, a lot of this. It's going to heighten our dreams, our spirituality, and our sensitivity in general. And here is what this specific astrologer notes. This is on mindbodygreen.com. Speaking of eclipses, she says this full moon starts a 2-week period or portal between this lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse that will fall on the new moon in 2 weeks. So it's a potent time, but it's not meant for manifesting. Oh my God, she says it too. It's more focused on surrendering and releasing to the universe's natural flow and the destined yet unexpected events in store for us. Okay, I mean, that actually makes more sense. This is actually the other half of manifesting, is releasing and trust. So maybe that's what this is really saying, is like, we've already done the manifesting work, especially if you come to the One Day of Brightness events, right? Or if you work with me at all, or you just have your own practice with this, like, we've been manifesting. So now starting tomorrow and for the next 2 weeks, it's time to just release and trust and not be manifesting at all. I could get down with that. I need a little shift in that perspective, I guess, to see it that way. Again, I'd say do what you want. If you're manifesting during this time, it's not like you're going to fuck your life up. Like, just do what you feel guided to do. It's just not that big of a deal. Um, and it's like the truest truth of it all is if you were quote unquote supposed to not manifest, something would happen to just always get in your way of whenever you were going to be doing it or however you do it. Right? You were going to sit down to do your vision board and like something would happen and draw you away. You just wouldn't. So don't stress it. Right? That's part of the surrender and the trust in this moment, right? It's trust in yourself. That's cool though to understand that little portal. Releasing, surrendering. Those are the themes of the day, so that makes sense. It says the autumn equinox is just a couple weeks away as well. I mean, it's 1 week away. This was written 2 days ago. What? Literally a week away from when they wrote it, but they said it's a couple weeks away. Anyway, it's next Sunday. You can come to One Day of Brightness on the autumnal equinox. It'd be great to see you there. But it says this is marking the halfway point of the astrological year. Oh, yeah, that's true. Weird. This eclipse cycle, it says, and portal is ending the summer season and bringing in the fall. It's a time of harvesting, beginning to slow down. So we're seeing a really big shift in that right now. Yeah, that's the other thing of surrendering and receiving and releasing, right, is the harvest. Those are harvest energies anyway. So it's really well aligned, actually. It says 3 ways to work with this full moon. Keep a dream journal. You should be doing that anyway. And if you're going to come be a part of the dream walking course, you will be doing that every day for the rest of your life. So you could do that. Take a ritual bath. Since it's a water sign Pisces, she says, draw a ritual moon bath, connect to the element of water and your own emotions, have some Epsom salts, your favorite crystals and essential oils, and meditate on your emotions and intuition. The focus is alchemizing and healing through the element of water. I think this is sort of like antithetical to what she's saying. The focus is alchemizing. Like, no, the point has been this whole time, the theme is surrender and letting go and not trying to accomplish anything, actually. So I'd say draw yourself a bath, make the ritual, just getting in and just releasing fully and not having any expectations or intentions at all. How about that? And then she says, pull a tarot spread. Sure. Do that. Oh, there's a specific 4 cards. I thought this was an ad. Do a card from what has manifested since the new moon. What are you letting go of this full moon? What is the eclipse portal trying to shift and change within your life? And what is being revealed about your destiny at this time? I love this. Maybe we'll do this tomorrow for the members only middle path lightning oracle round. We'll do this little tarot spread and then do everyone getting their message from their spiritual guides and allies. That would be fun. I'll keep this tab. Oh, wait, we're still looking at it. After we're done looking at it, I'll keep looking, or I'll put it aside. Oh, it is actually over. Okay, so I'm putting this aside and keeping this open. So I remember to do this tomorrow. And the other thing that I read was that we haven't, and it wasn't clear, they didn't clarify why or how, but they said we haven't had this eclipse, the same eclipse or the same sort of energy since fall of 2016. So I was like, well, what was happening in the fall of 2016 that might in any way be similar to this? And then I thought, oh, how weird. In the fall of 2016, Donald Trump was winning or was about to win the election. So if we're returning in some way to the energy of that time, is that what's happening? There's a lot of things, and I mean like a lot, that I can't even remember all of them, that seem to insist that Donald Trump will win this election. And that despite that Democrats seem very capable of stealing the election, or rather anyone who wants to, the psychopath class in general, is capable of stealing the election and selecting or implanting anyone they choose. So take with that however you want. Apparently tried to kill him twice, didn't. The psychic who foresaw that says that he wins. There's a lot more than that, but those are just the most recent things. And now this sort of indication that we're returning to a similar astrological energy or time that we haven't seen since 2016 in the fall. So interesting. Not all these things I think happened in the fall, but I just pulled up this article to try to remember some of the things that were going on at that time. So, of course, we had the presidential election. Trump won totally by surprise. No one saw that coming. The Russian hacking thing was happening, the Syrian civil war. Oh, poor Aleppo. That's so sad. Brexit was happening. So there was sort of a return to the, you might say more, what am I trying to say? The right wing, like anti-immigrant, traditionalist sort of energy in Britain, and that's sort of coming back again as well. People are going back to, in fact, all over Europe. They're going back to sort of not allowing or kicking out migrants. Really interesting stuff. We'll talk about that on the winning report this week. We had the Zika outbreak, which was blamed on a virus and mosquitoes, but was actually very, very, very obviously chemically induced damage, especially to newborn infants and fetuses, which is disgusting. You can thank the psychopath class for that. The Flint, Michigan water crisis was happening, terror attacks, the Pulse nightclub shooting. Oh, that was that super false flag one. Okay. Yep. People died. Oh, David Bowie died. Prince died. Alan Rickman died. Gene Wilder died. Muhammad Ali died. Lots of deaths of pretty important people. Lots of these are just sort of run-of-the-mill stuff. Sports stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. The one that turns out the most is sort of the Zika thing and the election. So, things do tend to happen in sort of cycles, but also if you remember the episode I did on synchronous recasting, the magicians, black magicians and otherwise, use that energy, the sort of repeating echoes to amplify similar sorts of projects and give them new life. So it's quite possible this will be helping Donald Trump get elected or selected or placed. And who knows if we'll see some chemical sort of attack or otherwise blamed on a virus. That's what they want for their dark winter again. We just got to have our dark winter. We just got to have people dying left and right. Got to have it. It's so in right now. It's so hot right now. And I hope people also transcend that. This is also like the weather. All of these timelines being cast, all of this black magic. It's just like the weather. You can just choose not to. Yeah, I'll just sidestep that. I'll just not go out in this rain. Or like, yeah, they're gonna make it rain. I'm gonna go dance in it anyway because I was gonna go dancing. So that's what I'm gonna do still. So we can just let that power of our own intentions carry us through no matter the weather. It does seem, again, like tomorrow is a great time to be in full surrender and release, and perhaps for that next 2 weeks, and to really focus on, maybe not pushing anything, not forcing anything, not making any big moves or big steps, unless it's like perfectly aligned and it's like carrying you along with it and you barely even have to try. Then maybe, let yourself be taken by that, but maybe not make any big kind of moves. That's sort of the overwhelming theme, whether you are a fan of true sidereal or tropical astrology or otherwise. So that's what I might do myself. I'll say too, for a long, long time, I had the fours, 444, 444, 444, I mean, years, like it's been crazy. Now it's switched to eights and they're everywhere all the time. I just saw it's 808 where I'm at. There's the 88 there. I got a gift today of $88 very unexpectedly. I went into a casino. I usually go in, if I go into a casino at all, I'm like $20, do something with it, whatever. Not going over that. And usually just $20 goes away, right? That's what happens in the casino. But the other night I went in and instead of just picking a machine because it had like a cat I like on it or like, like a word that I think is neat, I asked my guidance to tell me what machine to sit down on. And so I sat down on a machine that felt like the right one because of my guidance. And I played that machine and I won $88. And I, right before that, had seen 88, and there was an 88 on the machine. And so I'm like surrounded by 88s and also seemingly some abundance, which is cool. And I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but my resident numerologist, Alex, who's in the chat, he talks about making payments on 8 days because whatever you put out is going to come right back to you. I'm wondering if this is going to be a time in my life where I finally get to receive all of the good karma and juju that I've put out there and just float on it for a while. It'd be real nice to work a little less hard at some point in my life. Maybe this is it. Hopefully you guys can all help me surrender to that truth. And may you also surrender to the abundance and goodness coming your way. And until you do, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Waltz on a nimbus with an S of a gymnast. Stretch lung fitness, Mobius strip witness. Swim upstream through the fibers of infinity in the vicinity of infallible divinity. Outstretched arms, but flesh ain't allowed to taste it. No, so close as the moon bases above the light of dawn. Howling at the luna, gnawing at the wire into my organic computer. On the draw, it's the raw fallen star shooter. Rip the fabric of time, string theory suture. Past becomes the future, subconscious in the forefront. Lost the programming, obnoxious to the Lord's grunts. Tiptoe on obelisk, soaking nature's novelist. To the soul it's obvious, the optical ain't dominant. Matter seeming prominent to Gaia's drowsy occupants. Check the emerald documents, the depth of this is bottomless. Depth of this is bottomless. Bottomless. Depth of this is bottomless.